Hello, I'm Charlotte and this is Books and Bargains. Today I'm coming to you with my wrap up, and this month I managed to read 20 books. I'm glad that they're not all in paperback because I can only just about hold up this 9. So the way that 20 breaks down is into 9 physical books, 8 ebooks. I hadn't read ebooks before this month, but I've got into NetGalley with my Kindle. I listened to 1 audiobook, 2 short stories, 1 DNF and 1 DNF for now, which you will see in the wrap up. In terms of star ratings, it has been a bloody fantastic month, as I rated 1 book 2 stars, 3 books 3 stars, 3 books 3 stars, 5 books 4 stars, and a whopping 11 5 stars. Now, I was talking to someone the other day about rating books, and we were talking about people being a glass half full or half empty kind of person, and I definitely go with glass half full, because if a book is 4.5 stars, I will generally go up to 5 with it. So yeah, let's get into the vlog style wrap up. So, excuse how my hair looks, I have a kidney infection. And we're starting the month of June on a real stinker of a book. This is When the Lights Go Out by Mary Becker, and I read this with the lovely Simone as a buddy read, and I was bored throughout this book. There is one bit especially, if I didn't know that this was written by a woman, I would have thought that it was written by a man, because she describes getting her period as something like speckled blood on delicate lace or something. And it just, I wanted to throw the book into the traffic at that point. And then the ending is possibly the worst ending I've ever read in a book. I wouldn't recommend this to anyone. I've given it 2 stars, probably more like 1.5, because I was intrigued for certain bits of it. But yeah, that's it for me and Mary Becker. That's 2 books of hers that I've read, 2 that I've rated 2 stars, so I won't be picking up any more by this author. So it's the 7th of June, and I've just finished reading MC Beaton's Agatha Raisin and the Murderous Marriage. This shows you how slow a month it has been so far, seeing as I've only finished 2 books in this whole week, and both of them I haven't really enjoyed. I love the Agatha Raisin books, but I found 75% of this really slow, but then it picked up again towards the end, so I will continue with the series for now, but I'm just going to rate that one a 3 star. It is the 8th of June and it's 1:45 in the morning. I already mentioned that I have a kidney infection, and because of that I am struggling to sleep because of the pain. So I have just finished reading Get a Life, Chloe Brown, and this book is a 5 star and is going straight to the top book that I've read so far this year. This book was pretty much perfect. It had physical disability representation in that Chloe Brown has got fibromyalgia. She is also black. She is also fat. Both her and Red have mental health problems that are dealt with so well during this. It had really dirty sex scenes, which I bloody loved. And this has just got every aspect of my perfect book. The only thing that would have made it better for me was if Red had have been a woman and it was a female-female romance. But yeah, bloody love this book. I've taken my last antibiotics this morning, so hopefully I will start to feel better soon. But I have just read Jojo Moyes has released a short story called Lou in Lockdown. I've rated it a 4 star because there is a bit of fat shaming in it, which there's just no need for it. Otherwise it would have been a 5 star, and I really hope that this means that we're getting another Louisa Clark novel, because she is pretty much my favourite character I think I've ever read. So I've just finished reading Handle with Care. It was kindly sent to me by NetGalley. It was fantastic. It was a medical memoir written by Rachel, can't think of her last name, so I'll insert it again.
and she has worked as an NHS health visitor, and it starts with her life as a student nurse back in a time when students didn't have to pay. She talks about having money left over after rent and things, which I've known from my recent student nurse experience is just not something that happens anymore. And it finishes right in present day with the epilogue talking about the coronavirus. It's really delicately done. She doesn't just talk about the families that she visits, but she also talks about the struggles that she had in her personal life, and it is interwoven with NHS politics. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, I would definitely recommend it. I've rated it 4-star because there are a few little bits that I glazed over, especially the beginning with her childhood and things. That to me, I feel bad saying this one, it's a non-fiction, but that to me I didn't find very interesting. It's not the kind of thing that I read. But once it got into the meat of story, I really, really enjoyed it. So it's the 13th of June. I realised that most of these clips have been filmed right here on my sofa because that's where I've been spending a lot of my time, although I'm going back to work tonight, so that will change. I have just finished reading Take a Hint, Danny Brown, which is the companion novel to Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I have completely been ignoring my TBR because I've been obsessed with NetGalley. I treated myself to a Kindle, I think it's a Kindle 4. It was £22 from CEX anyway, and it is fantastic. I never used to read ebooks because reading with the backlight gives me such a migraine, so this has meant that I have been able to request loads of books to read. By the time this video goes up, this will already have been released, so I fully recommend you go and buy it. This book is fantastic. It follows Danny Brown, who is sister to Chloe Brown, and her fake relationship with Zaf. When they're friends and near the beginning of the story something is caught on video and people think that they're a couple, Zaf runs a club called Tackle It, which helps young men into rugby and also to talk about their mental health. The mental health representation in this book is absolutely fantastic on both Zaf and Danny, but I was more impressed with the way that it focused on Zaf because I don't think a lot of books talk about men's mental health, and it has a bit of everything in this book. The smut is perfect for me. And I just want to read you 2 things that I highlighted that if I wanted to show you how good this book is, it made me cry, it made me laugh, and it turned me on. So the 2 bits that I want to share with you is, I'll just wank to thoughts of his beard until my perfect fuck buddy materialises. That line I just thought was brilliant. You can probably hear the cat scratching behind me. Ernie, stop it. And then a more serious one is, I love sports, of course I do, but the culture can easily become toxic. It's not easy to say, that's not me. Like, all right, nice one, but what are you doing to fight it? And yeah, I gave this book 5-star, and I think that even pipped Chloe Brown. I think I like this one a little bit more, which is weird for me because I've found with most trilogies, the second book is the weakest one. And the 3rd book isn't coming out till February next year, so I'm dying to read that. If it was out already, I would read it straight away. So it's 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm on my break. This is my muffin wrapper here, and I've just finished reading Proud. I really enjoyed this. I'm going to give it a 4-star just because some of the stories weren't for me. But this is stories, poetry and art all on the theme of pride, and a lot of these stories were fantastic. There are some really brilliant authors in here, and some that you'll know, like Simon James Green and Alice Oseman, but there's a few that I also discovered that I didn't know. So Cynthia So and Tanya Byrne, who haven't written any of their the lights on a sensor in here, I knew it would go off while I was filming this, who haven't written any books yet, but I will be looking out for them. So yeah, 4 stars. So it is the 17th of June. I am on the sofa again with my blanket. I've just finished reading Wonderland by Juno Dawson, and I'm going to give this a 4-star. If it wasn't for the fact that I spent the first, I'd say 100 pages kind of bored, this would have got a 5-star, because after it picked up, it really, really got good. this book has Own Voice's representation of Alice, a trans girl who... This is basically what would happen if Alice in Wonderland and Skins were kind of merged together. So there's a lot of sex and drugs in this, but there is also mentions of psychosis, self-harm, suicide, and it's all really sensitively done, and it did make me laugh at the same time. There's a big theme of consent in this, with a lot else going on. I don't want to give too much of the story away, but yeah, I give that one a 4-star. One thing I do need to say about this book though, very early in the book, one of the things that I hated about it, and I would love for the publishers or whoever to watch this video, probably won't, but to know that it is not okay, is that there is a joke made about diabetes. Alice and her friend Dinah are going off to have I think it's in milkshakes and donuts or something, and the comment is something like, sure, let's go get diabetes. And I was really disappointed with that. Like, really, it is not okay to take the piss out of such a serious illness that affects so many people. And you know, I know that being overweight and eating too much sugar is a risk factor for type 2 diabetes, but it is not something that is just caused by that. And even if it is, it's never okay to take the piss out of a health condition. So yeah, that lost serious points for me on this one. So it is the 19th of June and I've just finished reading Cowgirl by Kirsty Eyre. This was kindly sent to me by HarperCollins and NetGalley. Sorry, I have chocolate cake around my mouth. It is my first BookTube birthday today, so I'm really excitable. Can't believe that I have been here a year. Anyway, on to the book. This book I'm giving a 4-star. This, for a debut novel, was pretty fantastic. The reason it's getting a 4-star rather than a 5 were because there are a few little bits that I found... I thought the pacing was a bit off, and I thought some of the language used was problematic. So there's a scene especially, and this is the second mention of transvestite, but I'm really torn, so I'd love to know what you guys think, because it is being used by an 80-odd-year-old in the context that... So Billy herself, aka Cowgirl, is a... I actually don't think it says her name, her age, but I think she's about my age, so about 30. She is working in London as a biochemist when she goes back home to the Dales, to Derbyshire. Is that the Dales? I don't know. I've told you before, my geography is terrible. But she goes back home to her dad's cow farm and goes to a wedding with her girlfriend. Billy came out years ago, and the small town have kind of found that a bit hard to deal with. And one scene that I found really poignant was at this wedding. So it wasn't a wedding, it was a vow renewal for her uncle, who cheated on his wife plenty of times, but always had a vow renewal to like make it up to her. And it struck me that, I don't know whether the author was trying to do this, and I feel a little bit like I'm doing my GCSE English again, reading this much into the scene, but it was almost as if showing that this small town could accept a man who kept cheating on his wife and turn up for the wedding and, you know, go all out on this vow renewal, but couldn't accept that Billy was a lesbian. Yeah, so there's a few bits like that that really stuck out to me, and this ended up being a brilliant tale of kind of friendship, families, found families, with a good dose of comedy put in there. It was another one that I both laughed and cried during. I've realised that I really like books that are set in England because I can picture them more and I can really get absorbed into them, and I really loved Billy as a character. But yeah, the transvestite comment, in the context, it was used from an 80-plus-year-old woman who... you know, would you ever be able to change her? But I'm just not sure. It just didn't feel right with me, and I don't think it added a lot to the story, so I don't think it necessarily needed to be there. But yeah, I will be looking out for more from this author because I did really enjoy reading this, and I gave it a 4-star. So, excuse the hair, I am on night shifts and I've just finished reading The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. I've rated this a 3-star, and I really need to get over the feeling that 3 stars are bad rating, because obviously 3-star is average. The way I rate my books, a 1-star means I hated it and generally it's a DNF. 2-star means I didn't like it. A 3-star like this one, I enjoyed it. I thought the first kind of 100 pages were really slow, and I don't know whether it's just because I've read a lot of thrillers, but nothing that happened in it. There are a few little twists that I was like, yeah, but a lot of it I expected. And then the ending I just felt kind of weak. So endings and beginnings are a big thing for me, so I gave that a 3-star. Like I say, I enjoyed it, especially the middle bit. I got really into it, but yeah, pretty average. I also DNF'd a book last night, and if I can work out how to do it, I'll insert a picture here. And that was No Regrets by Tabitha Webb. Now, I was kindly sent this by HQ Stories to be part of their blog tour, but I DNF'd this at 25%. To say this was a debut author, this book had all the kind of worst things about chick lit in it. It was all about pitting women off against each other. It used all the really lazy stereotypes, and it's just the kind of book that I think that gives women's fiction a bad name, and it's the kind of book that makes people say, oh yeah, I don't like chick lit. So that really wasn't for me, and you'll know from this channel that I really do love a good chick lit, but the characters were just completely blah. There was nothing about them that I liked, and yeah, I don't like this whole trope of pitting women against each other, and you know, it was the lazy stereotype of, oh, the mom who's put on a bit of weight and has a messy child comparing herself to the other mom that has it perfect and is thin and is young, and yeah, so I made it to 25%. I was willing to give it the benefit of the doubt, but after 25% I was just like, no, don't want to read this. So that is that. Good morning. It is the 23rd of June, and I just want to share some books with you that I've finished over the last couple of days. None of them I have physically here. So the first one is from Audible, and that is Shonda Rhimes' The Year of Yes. I think I've mentioned on here before that I love Audible, and I've got a link down below for a free trial for you. So it's an affiliate link, so I will get a little bit of money if you sign up. It's completely free to sign up. You get a free audiobook, which is yours to keep whether you stay with Audible or not. And yeah, I love it. I especially love listening to memoirs read by the person, because it makes me feel like they are telling me their story. And I rated this book a 5-star. Shonda Rhimes is absolutely fantastic. She's one of the best storytellers that I know. I don't think I've ever related to anything as much as I relate to Grey's Anatomy. And then the next 2 books were both sent to me via NetGalley, and they are 2 books in the Little People Big World series. So they are Aretha Franklin, and I'm just going to say Corey because that's what she is referred to throughout it, but she's the first female president of the Philippines, and I had never heard of her before. It's really shown me that I need to expand my world history a little bit, but I've mentioned before that history is not my favourite subject, so although they're aimed at children, these Little People Big World series, which I am now trying to collect, opens my eyes, and in 32 pages or so I get a really good rounded view of someone's life. It was the same when I read Brazen, that there were all these people that I just never heard of, and I think it's a really accessible way to find out about people. So I've rated both those a 5-star as well. So it's been a good few days. So last night I couldn't sleep due to pain, and
I think the heat and just general chronic illness rubbish. But I finished reading Noah Can't Even by Simon James Green, and this book is getting a 5-star from me. This was typical British humour, which I love. I've seen some really mixed reviews of this online, but I don't know how you can not love it. A lot of people talk about the fact that they refer to sex in this as bow chicka wow wow, and every time I heard that in my head I went bow chicka wow wow. And I don't know if the people that are not getting that are maybe younger than me, but I know that as a 13-year-old that was something that me and my friends said regularly, and I was 13 in the early 2000s. Sorry that my neighbours seem to be doing some DIY. The way I would describe this book is, imagine if you took Will from The Inbetweeners and stuck him in a school, took away his friends, only gave him one friend, really, and had him question his sexuality, you would basically get no. So if you like a good dose of proper British humour, I think you will love this. I think this book is going to go into my top 10 of the year, but looking at my top 10 of the year, there is quite a lot of competition, so we will see. If I had the second book in the series, which is Noah Can Never, or Noah Could Never, then I would read that straight away. But alas, I don't, and I have a massive TBR, so I'll be on the lookout for that one. So it's the 29th of June now, and over the past couple of days I have finished 3 books that I want to share with you. Firstly, I finished Bethany Rutter's Melt My Heart, and this book was lovely. I have rated it a 5-star, I think. Bethany Rutter really knows how to write a 3-dimensional fat character. I've mentioned in my wrap-up that Lily is just everything I wanted from a character. It's the summer before she goes away to university, and she's questioning whether she wants to go to university, and she's questioning how she feels about love and life, and she's grown up always comparing herself to her thinner twin. And there's some really brilliant scenes in it, like she talks about people not believing that they're twins because her twin is thin, she's fat, and yeah, it's another one of these books that I've read a lot of recently where the diversity is just there, and it's not always the main plot of the story. So, like, obviously Lily being fat is not the main plot of the story. She's not trying to lose weight. And she has gay uncles that are just gay, and that's that. Again, it's not like the main plot of the story, and I really enjoyed that. The next book I then read was A Heart So Fierce and Broken, and on finishing this book, oh, look at that shine, I understand why it's called this, because my heart is now broken. I can't go too much into the plot of this because it is the sequel to A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which is a bit of a Beauty and the Beast retelling, whereas this one, I wouldn't say that it's a retelling at all. The story follows on. And we've been introduced to a new character in this one who I absolutely adore. J'adore Liamara, j'adore. I buddy read this with Victoria, and I think that really enhanced the reading of it. We sent each other voice notes after we finished the pages. It was really great to be able to talk theories with her. I think that's my favourite buddy read that I have ever done. And lastly, I finished An Arc of Lovelace by Alice Oseman. This was sent to me by NetGalley, and I read it on my Kindle. I really, really wanted to love this book, and it just fell completely flat for me. I love the Heartstopper series, which is a graphic novel by Alice Oseman, but this was the first one of her novels that I read, and it has an asexual, aromantic main character, which I thought was really great, and that was why I wanted to pick it up. But like I say, it just felt flat. I didn't feel like any of the characters were really, not relatable, because I did see a lot of myself in them, but I just didn't care. They felt really the story itself was really repetitive. The there was a lot of reference to her sitting in bed with a bagel reading fan fiction, and I get what the author was trying to do, but it just fell completely flat for me, so I didn't enjoy that book. Well, no, I gave it a 3 stars, so it was pretty middle of the road. There were some bits that I really enjoyed, like there was lots of 90s pop references and things. There was a reference to Avril Lavigne, which made me laugh. But all in all, yeah, it's just pretty average for me, and it's not one that I'd recommend.
So I have decided to put down Pet by Akwakia Mizi for now. It's not a DNF because I hope to pick it back up at some time in the future. But for right now, it's just not gripping me, and I don't want to push myself through it because I think that will put me off. So maybe it's right book, wrong time. So it is the 30th of June now, and I have just finished reading Rosie Loves Jack. Now, first off, I want to put a content warning in here of abuse, physical and mental, but more talked about than there's nothing graphic. I picked this book up, it was a total cover buy, expecting it to be a really fluffy teenage YA, and actually it went really bloody dark. Hang on, let me switch hands because that arm is hurting. So, Rosie is a teenager, she's 16 and 10 months, as she points out quite a few times, with Down syndrome, and when her boyfriend Jack gets moved to like a behavioural facility in Brighton, she decides to take a journey to go and see him. She doesn't tell anybody about it because her dad's been hiding postcards because he doesn't want her to see Jack. But when she gets to London with the snow, a lot of trains get cancelled, and I don't want to give any spoilers, but there's some really beautiful bits in here, and it really shows the best and worst people. While this isn't Own Voices, Mel Darben has a brother who's on the autistic spectrum, and she worked at a college, and Rosie is based on a real girl that she worked with. She mentions in her author's note at the end that a lot of people just assume that people with Down syndrome need looking after, whereas in the case of Rosie, she is determined to show people that she can be independent, and Mel herself says that from her time working in the college, she knows that there is a spectrum with learning disabilities, that some people can be completely independent, and this book was just beautiful. I've rated it a 5-star, and it's had me happy crying and sad crying. As you can see, I've just had a little cry at the end of this. We are literally down to the wire here. It is 11:15 on the 30th of June, and I have just finished reading 2 books. Well, 1 book and a short story. Anyway, I'm just having a real deja vu, but the book that I've just finished is Second Dad Summer, and it is a middle grade book. I think it's on Amazon that it is for 7 to 10-year-olds. And basically, our main character goes to spend the summer with his dad. His dad's bisexual, and he's known that from early on. He starts the book feeling ashamed to tell his new friend Sage that his dad has a boyfriend. And throughout the book, he really just comes to terms with things. There's some really important lessons in there, and I think especially tolerance is a lesson that is really in there. And then the best bit is there is a bit about pronouns, which I think is really important because I think even a lot of adults don't understand about pronouns. And his friend Sage just literally says to another character, "What pronouns do you prefer?" And if kids can do that, I don't know why adults can't. So, and the second book that I finished was actually just a short little book called Noah Goes Nuclear. I posted my 5-star books on my Instagram, as I do every month, and I tagged Simon James Green, as Noah Could Never was one of my 5-star books this month, and he replied saying that there was a free book on his website, so I'll link that below. But it was just as brilliant as the other ones, and I hope we get more books from Noah soon.
So that is everything that I've read this month. Down below there will be a link to shop all the books that I've mentioned here. Let me know if you thought anything about these books. And until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye!